I'm trying a different pipe. That was bogus, man. What the heck? Same concept. You have a shell flying around. Okay. 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 That dude is not even... Okay. I don't know what's going on here. I think you have to... I think I need to get the first one. How do you even pull this off? This is insane. Yes. Yes. I got the first one. I only need one more. I can't tell if this is a good level or a terrible one. I really don't know, but I got all the cannons. Yes! I did it! Ow! Okay, hold on. Let me get a helmet for the road just in case. Okay, helmet for the road. 1 coin. Checkpoint. Oh, you get the mushroom back, which means... Wait, I'm holding... Well, yeah, you end up getting a helmet for all these challenges anyways, so... Cheese is not really an option.
кепка! Ха! Ты куда пошел? Вылезай давай, нахрен вылезай!
What in the world? Wait, what's going on? What the heck is going on? Can I kill him? No? What am I doing? I have no idea what's going on here. What is my objective? Ow. What is my objective? I killed him. I killed him. Stupid thwomp. I don't know what that does for me, but I killed him, so yay me, I guess. What happens if you go back into the pipe? I have a helmet. I don't know what this does for me, but I feel like there's a chance it could do something. Oh, I just got the mushroom like a complete freaking idiot. So there's nothing you can do in there. What happens if you go to the left over here? Whoa. So you were definitely supposed to come up here, but you need a helmet. I can't get through here! I don't think this is what you're supposed to do, man. Just a hunch. But look, I got the key. But then guess what? But guess what? I got a key, I'm leaving. All my dreams are being realized. Skipped the entire level, pretty much. That feels pretty good. I'm gonna play it again and go for the speed run, you guys. That's right. World record breaking time. This guy's gonna be so mad when he turns on his Wii U and sees that somebody cheesed his level. He's gonna be so mad. He's gonna be so freaking mad. Oh, just missed a minute. You can easily get a submitted on that one. What am I doing? What am I doing? I have better things to do than this. That's probably not true. Oh, come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, that was way better. That was way better. Yeah. 51 seconds. Wow, that's beautiful. What a good time that was. Wow. Wow. All right, next up in the rabbit hole of you may also enjoy. Here's one that looks really, really weird. Man, there's a few weird ones in here. Bonus beat. Oh, I can't decide. That just looks like a running and jumping level. The other one looks... I don't know. I don't know. I chose the other one. Ringa, Baruka, something. You start in the wall in this one. This is the old school Zelda costume where you don't get a sword. He does squats, though. That's pretty cool. He's a freaking Triforce. Why can't you do that in Mario Maker 2? Okay, this isn't as cool as I thought it was gonna be. This is not as cool as I thought it was gonna be. I'm sorry, I've let you all down. I had a 2-second world record? What? What the heck? Did you see this? Whoa. Wait. What the hell? Where did I go? How do you go in the door? Oh, how did, what? What the heck? How did they do that? How did you do that? How did I pop out? I don't know how I did that. Oh, you pushed, no, okay. Nope, the universe decided that it doesn't care. Whoa, it didn't count my clear on this stage. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. I turned left while holding up. Wow. That's so cool. How do you, still 2 seconds? You have to hold left and press up at like the same time. Oh my god, help me please. Wow, did you see that? How you entered the door like that? That's crazy. I did not know you could do that. Wow, look at this one. 10-second chaotic disaster right here. It's probably like a hold right level. It can't be an actual hard level, right? Here we have some kind of speed run in this one. This one looks pretty basic. I don't know about this one. That one doesn't. I don't know what's going on there. It looks kind of short. This one looks like hot garbage. I'm gonna go with this one. Going in the pipe. Excuse me, sir. Could you not do that? Whoa. Wait. What the heck was I supposed to do there? So you hit the chain chomps? What does that even do? No, 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 no! Hit the chain chomp. Oh, it turned it around! No! Turn him around! Chain chomp hit him, but he didn't turn around, so I'm feeling a little bit cheated here. How do you... Oh, it has to be like right in front of him or something? I don't even know. Come on. Damn it. Come on. Come on. Come on. It's so terrible. The chomp has to go in the perfect spot to turn him around. Oh, there it goes. Why did you bounce it? Why did he bounce it and not freaking hit it? Okay, come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Why did he... That is not right. Wow, that was so awesome right there. Nope. Yes, perfect. Yes, dude. Hell yeah, let's go, man. Aw, you can let me enjoy my power up for a second? Wow, we had a mechanism to keep you from going in. Good level or hot garbage? That's the question. What am I supposed to do? Okay, this is pretty gnarly, you know? Pretty gnarly. Hey, I survived. That was a funny level. That was a good level. That was a good level. It's kind of trolly the way it worked, but it was funny and pretty good. Pretty creative. I'll give that one a star. All right, next up, random Japanese ghost house. Here we go. Oh, what did I do? Oh, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? What's going on? I don't know. Maybe backboard? I don't know. Backboard? Backboard, shell jump. Yup.
А стрёмное местечко-то, да? Опа. Мне наши сказали, что тут юсеки бродят. Вот поаккуратнее. Ай, пустовато здесь.
P-switch jump. So you do backboard, shell jump, and then P-switch jump. I can't even hit that power block, bro. It's not a P-switch jump. It's a throw it up the power. That throw it up the freaking idiot. It's very particular. I didn't get the P-switch. Dude, it's so particular. Oh, I had it. I didn't think I was gonna get it. Oh my god. What? What? How? I clearly threw that up. Just wasn't fast enough. What am I doing here? This level is insane, you guys. I didn't sign up for this. Oh, you continue the bomb spin on that one. This level's freaking nuts. This level's freaking nuts. This level's freaking nuts. In your butt. Drop spin, dropping, spinning drop, shell thing. Man, I ain't done one of those in so long. Because I think they took those out of Mario Maker too. Damn, I thought I had it. No! A lot of Mario's perishing. No! It's a 10-second. I just noticed. It's a 10-second level. Which means we're almost done. Dude, would you throw the freaking shell the freaking backwards, bruh? Yeah. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Dang it. That was a fun level. Fun little level, you know? Not too crazy. Flashy, exciting, short, and sweet. Alright, that was fun. That was a bit of an experience here. We just kind of went on through these levels, had all over the place. We had an official Nintendo level mixed in with some crazy weird levels, some Kaizo levels, some random...
Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul. Hope you're having an amazing day. As you probably guessed from the video title, we have kind of an update video for you today. We're going to start things out with some RDNA 3 information, just kind of going over some highlights, and then we're going to discuss an RDNA 3 refresh. We're going to move on to RDNA 4, and also some other things for AMD's CPU. There's a lot of stuff to get through here, something that we're not going to need to worry about anytime soon. And obviously we're talking about a product launch which has not even been announced yet, and so things could change. But to my understanding anyway, if AMD does launch this, it's going to be a late next year at the earliest. RDNA 4 is basically scheduled to be late 2024/early 2025. We'll get more into that in a moment. So it does make sense for some type of mid-generation refresh. AMD have done it multiple times in the past. So have Nvidia, so has just about everyone. It's not really surprising. But basically speaking, what you're looking at here is the same architecture as previously, so there's not like any major changes, there's not like, I don't know, the ability to suddenly clean your house by leaping out of your PC and, you know, doing the housework at night, but there are some small changes, some bumps in specifications, predominantly, as you can see on screen, regarding the memory configuration. It seems that we could be looking at up to 24 Gbps memory speeds. Some SKUs have also allegedly seen a bump in the number of workgroup processors. Now, honestly, I think RDNA 3 is going to be just selling out really well anyway. I suspect that this generation of cards is going to be super duper popular, but for those who do want to hang on, this refresh could be kind of interesting. I suspect mobile could perhaps be even more intriguing. I have been hearing some rumors. I don't think this is a refresh of Nave 32 for laptops, but at the moment I'm really early on that information, so I'm just kind of mentioning in brief. So, as I mentioned earlier, RDNA 4, I was about to say 3, is targeting late 2024, early 2025. This is not really surprising information. It pretty much sticks with AMD's, 2-year roughly cycle. And again, you know, AMD, NVIDIA are all kind of doing that same cycle. It's pretty common in the tech industry at this point. And yeah, that's not really new, as well as the fact that it's using GDDR7 memory. At the end of the day, it wasn't going to be using some, you know, random technology. We know that GDDR7 is being established and will be ready by that point, so that's not particularly new. However, there are a couple of very interesting things I've been hearing about AMD's upcoming architecture. The first of which is that performance is up considerably over RDNA 3. Now, I don't have performance targets at the moment, sorry about that, but I was told that we could be seeing a quite similar leap from RDNA 2 to 3 by one person, although honestly that information is pretty shaky. However, multiple people have told me that as big a leap as RDNA 2 to 3 is, we could maybe even see similar for RDNA 4. Furthermore, clock speeds are going up noticeably as well. Now, what's quite interesting about this is that RDNA 3, with Nave 31, as I've mentioned multiple times, can hit around 3 GHz. And honestly, this makes sense given what they've done with RDNA 2. We know that the architecture really loves speed. In fact, RTX 40 from NVIDIA is probably going to be hitting around, you know, 3 GHz. I say around, you know, give or take 100, 200 megahertz. So RDNA 4 being faster does make some level of sense. However,
Земляк!
Come on, boys, put the fucking lead in them!
It's also going to depend on a lot of other stuff that they do with the design, so it's kind of difficult to know whether that's true, but again, multiple people have told me that that is the case. But the most interesting thing is the fact that allegedly there is some new programmability on the GPU. So I'm sure you are quite aware that AMD purchased the Linux, and some of this technology, at least you can think of it as a very simplified explanation of what AMD are doing here, is going to make its way onto AMD's CPUs and GPUs. We'll get into the CPU side in a moment, but basically on the GPU side, I was told it's not as the Linux block, so you cannot just look at the Linux product profile and be like, that's what they're doing. That's not going to work. But as you can see on screen, it does seem like there are going to be some intriguing things that this could do.
Сейчас тут всех докосмарю, я тебе реально говорю. Земляк, мы стрелять не будем!
basically speaking, this block, from what I understand, can work on a plethora of tasks. Machine learning, so tensor instructions, for example, as well as other things like ray tracing. Ultimately speaking, I'm not quite sure how this is implemented. I've actually been given a couple of explanations so far, but what I do understand is that it seems to be quite tightly connected with the Infinity cache. Now, what I'm not certain of is whether this is connected via some type of bus to the MCDs, whether it's directly on the MCD. So, for example, the MCD, as you know, is not only the Infinity cache, but it is also things, well, it's basically memory controlled as well. I don't know if that would be right though. And again, because I'm not looking at block diagrams and also information here is really sketchy, I'm not quite sure, but what I have been told by multiple sources is this is the case. It is not, however, again clear what all the functionality of this thing is, but it does seem to be really powerful, and it seems to fit AMD's philosophy of having silicon which is multi-purpose. Nvidia, of course, have their own philosophy, you know, tensor cores and ray tracing cores and so on and so on. You guys get the drill. But with AMD, of course, ray tracing units are basically being run on the TMUs, and you know, they've got machine learning, but of course it's being run in lower precision operations on the workgroup processors / ALUs / whatever you want to say. So this seems to be an extension of that, but how it all works, you know, under the hood, I'm not sure. All I do know is that it does make an awful lot of sense, especially when you consider AMD's flexibility with being able to build things for different purposes. For example, they could have a different configuration for prosumer workloads, or a different configuration for low-end GPUs, or a different configuration for an APU, or a different configuration for high-end desktop. You get the idea. So it's going to be very interesting to see how all of that plays out, assuming the information is accurate, but I do think it's quite likely that it is. Finally, just a few updates for Dragon Range as well as Zen 5. So Dragon Range, of course, is basically
Оно, ну пыль.
Ryzen 7000 desktop processors in a laptop form. Clock frequencies are said to be really high. I've discussed Dragon Range multiple times before, so I'm not going to retread old information, but what I will say is it seems that there could be a Vcache variant being considered. Now, if this is true, obviously this will not improve GPU performance. We know that, basically speaking, the GPU performance of Dragon Range is essentially zero. It has just essentially enough workgroup processing power to basically render a desktop. However, what it does do is provide a lot of meaningful performance, and possibly AMD having a quite good lead, at least for the, this generation of products in mobile performance. There are a lot of rumors, I think Raymond's even mentioned this, and I've heard it multiple times, that the next generation of Vcache processors sees considerable improvements. One of the reasons that we didn't see Vcache for mobile, well, there are multiple reasons for this generation, but one of the big ones, as many of you know, there was a lot of heat density with the 5800X3D, and allegedly in the next generation of products, this is improved considerably. Switching though to Zen 5 from Zen 4, couple of small updates. I've already done an extensive video discussing Zen 5 before with IPC targets and lots of other stuff, so I'm not going to go too much into this, but I will mention a couple of very small updates. It does seem that the core counts for Ryzen Zen 5 is going to increase. It's going to double. Again, that's not new information. We've been hearing this. However, I'm almost certain at this point, if it does do this, they're basically going to double the number of cores per CCX, so rather than adding additional CCXs. So that's the first thing. And lastly, there does seem to be some type of accelerator blocks on the CPU. This is not new information. We've been hearing this and even kind of hinted officially by AMD that they want to do this. We've already seen other implementations of this most likely happening quite soon as well. So it's not really surprising, but yeah. Oh, and one final thing. I'm almost positive at this point, like 99.9% certain, that Phoenix is actually a monolithic design. I had heard for a while that it could be MCM, but it seems like no, it is not chiplet. It is almost certainly monolithic. With that said, I think that's just about it for this particular video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you did, well, it's YouTube. You know what to do. Take care of yourselves, guys. Bye for now. Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul. Hope you're having an amazing day. I'm going to kick this video off discussing AMD's future CPUs and GPUs. Did you just build a shiny new PC? Then you're knowing those first keys with floor 15 encryption MC, the home of process. But for quite some time we've believed that FreeNM will be the home of Zen 5 and other products in AMD's GPU lineup as well. However, there is a rather interesting tweet from Grayman, who claims that TSMC's FreeNM process is having, let's say, some upses. And therefore AMD will be actually migrating Zen 5 and again other products as well probably on to the 4nm process from TSMC. Now I want to say that I actually heard this news myself a couple of days ago, although I am fully crediting Grayman for this. However, yeah, we kind of had a few issues on the channel, and we'll be discussing that later on, in the closing, because I don't want to start eating up news time for that. But yeah, basically speaking, does seem like TSMC are having issues with their FreeNM process, and one of my sources has told me pretty much the same thing a couple of days ago, and now it seems that Grayman is also mentioning the same thing again. Now, of course, ultimately these are rumors, right? So it's possible that it won't be, come to fruition, and FreeNM is absolutely fine, and a couple of days time Lisa could make a statement and say, yeah, everything's great and our roadmap is proceeding as expected, and Zen 5 is going to be on the FreeNM process, and we're going to be creating Zen 6 utilizing black hole technology. On the other hand, it's interesting that, as far as I know anyway, my source and Grayman have absolutely nothing in common with one another, and I'm told basically the same thing. I tend to be quite hesitant of putting information out when I've only got a single source telling me things, because people can get things wrong at the end of the day, and it's going to be very interesting if this is the case, because Intel's future processors are doing better. The main problem at the moment I'm hearing for their processors is basically yields, although apparently again they are doing better. And given the fact that Intel wants to be, a powerhouse in manufacturing, it's going to be really curious how all of this comes together. I'll also note, actually, on the 5nm process of TSMC, Nvidia are putting billions of US dollars, allegedly, into procuring, let's say, their fair share of allotment for TSMC. And again, I think I've mentioned it actually even in a couple of videos in passing, but I have been hearing that Nvidia want to get a really good supply of 5nm capacity. Now, the thing of it is, the good news is for AMD and Nvidia, of course, is that Apple are basically relinquishing the older quote-unquote processors as they start to move towards their own product, or move their own products towards, And I'm sure we'll agree by the time we've finished this video that, well, Zen 5 is perhaps even the biggest change in the Zen microprocessor architecture ever, and we're going to be discussing it right after this message from the video's sponsor. Did you just build a shiny? Of course, great too. I've affiliate Windows links and also various AP along with a whole bunch of other stuff like Navi 3X and also various APUs, and we're going to be going over some of that information again, but I've also managed to establish a lot more clarification and other details, and of course, as usual, we'll be going over this like slide by slide. Now, I want to stress, of course, that this information is still pretty early, and some of it could pertain only to specific SKUs, and we'll be going more into that in just a moment, but let's start out, shall we? So, beginning first, core counts for the Ryzen processors will be doubling. So, we've discussed this several times on the channel previously, but from 16 cores, we're going to see up to 32 cores. Core counts for Epic and Threadripper will see a similar, that's an exact quote, the word similar, increase. I don't know the exact core count. I've heard everything from 192 to 256, so I'm just going to say 192 to 256 for this video. Zen 5 cores are now using TSMC's 4nm process. One of my sources is adamant that it could be 3nm. This actually matches to what Grayman has said on Twitter. I believe it was Grayman. I may be misattributing that, but they actually said it's going to be 4nm. One of my sources is, actually two of my sources, excuse me, are saying it's 4nm. One is still insistent it's 3nm. So perhaps there's still old information with the 3nm source, or perhaps it could be specific SKUs or a refresh. I'm not sure yet. Continuing on though, as we've got a lot more stuff to go through, the number of cores per CCX has apparently increased to 16, so this is double that of Zen 3 and Zen 4. There are large IPC gains. I'm hearing around 30% 1 ST, so that's single thread. This is average performance increases. Basically, I'm averaging the performance that I've heard from several sources. One person said it's around 32%, another said it's 29%, so I'm going to average and say around 30%. Adding to this, heterogeneous processors like APUs, and basically those which are using the Zen 5 and low power Zen 4 cores, we'll discuss this further in just a moment, will really be pushing low power consumption as a primary feature. This is not surprising. AMD have done that with a plethora of Ryzen processors at this point for laptops, for example, but it's going to be doubled, tripled, quadrupled, whatever you want to say, down for the next generation. Now, another very interesting thing that I was personally hearing about Zen 5 is that there are major changes to the cache structure. And one of those is that L3 cache is no longer on the CCX itself. The best way of describing this in a kind of a very simplified manner would be basically their chiplets. I mean, the easiest way actually is just visualize the 5800X 3D, but while those CPU cores still have the L3 cache,
Ну и что тут? Есть-то, нет?
Да вот он! Мать твою, а! Ну иди сюда, попробуй меня трахнуть, я вот! Так, она не чёрт! Будь ты проклят! Иди, идиот, трахать тебя и всю... Вали кепку! Пиздец, мраки ебаные! Нет никого.
on the CCX, this is going to be just removed and basically 3D stacked. Now this Vcache, to my understanding, is most likely going to be utilizing an older, larger manufacturing process. I haven't had it confirmed which one yet, so 5 or 7 nm is likely. Obviously this is almost certainly going to be using TSMC, but maybe they'll go with another company, I don't know. This is obviously for purposes like yields, costs, and so on and so on. The L2 cache is actually unified though across the entire CCX. So this means that all 16 cores access a shared L2 cache now. So again, an easy way of describing this is kind of visualize how the L3 cache works, for example, on Zen 4, and you can basically apply this to the L2 cache on Zen 5. And we've actually had numerous other architectures from other companies that have had unified L2 caches, so this is not like some incredible advancement that only AMD have thought of, but it does have a plethora of advantages, particularly now that core counts are increasing, of course, per CCX. Now, one source is insistent that the amount of cache is actually increased in total. However, the way it was worded, I'm not 100% certain how they mean this, because again there are 16 cores, right? So using Zen 4 maths, for example, because each Zen 4 CPU core has L2 cache of 1 megabyte. Each private cache of L2 is 1 megabyte. Does that mean that Zen 5 is 16 megabytes because 16, 16 cores and all, and you're sharing that? 16 megabyte, you know, that chunk, if you will, or does it mean that it's actually larger? So, for example, is it 32 megabytes of L2 cache shared between all of those cores? Just an example figure. I'm not sure which one at the moment. Another smaller thing is that L1 caches themselves have seen big increases. This includes larger sizes as well as latency improvements. Obviously, again, this is going to be really important. This also kind of matches to what another source I've only had going to be really important. This also kind of matches to what another source, I've only had one source tell me this so far, and that is that the future Zen 5 architecture is going to be really bandwidth dependent on DDR5, and that's one of the reasons that they're bolstering the caches. Again, this is not too surprising, and I think we've already seen some of the advantages that tons of cache can have for the Zen architecture already, of course, with the 5800X3D, which I think is a really interesting case study of what can happen when you just take an established processor core and you just add a crap ton of cache to it. And it's actually really interesting if you guys, you know, have a look at some benchmarks, or you have one of the processors technically available now, and you kind of look at the scaling of what applications really do well. And you can imagine in the future how this is going to perhaps even scale to, you know, larger number of cores. It's going to be really interesting, I figure, particularly when we're talking about larger scale CCXs as well. Now, for the next slide, we're going to be discussing a bunch of stuff that I'm not as certain about, because I've only in some cases had one source confirm a specific thing. Or it could be pertaining only to one specific SKU. Nevertheless, I'm putting it out there because I think it will be fascinating to see how all of this stuff kind of lands in the next couple of years, as I'm sure we're going to get a lot more information over the next, you know, months or so. But anyway, so first things first, there are NPUs as well as accelerator and machine learning, and this will become a really big deal for Zen 5. I can really imagine this to be the case. I mean, AMD are pushing the acquisition of Linux at the moment, and you can start to imagine how a lot of that technology could be utilized in specific SKUs in the future. We've also had AMD themselves officially confirm that things like accelerators are going to become a really big part of Ryzen's future. I think it was like Robert Halleck in an interview, I believe it was the 5-year anniversary of Ryzen that he said this, but I'm not 100% certain. And so you can imagine how this is going to continue over the next couple of years, you know, dedicating a very small amount of die space, relatively anyway, to accelerate specific functions, for example. It's not exactly like this, but you can kind of imagine how that's one of the reasons that smartphones have such good performance relative anyway, you know, when you're talking about like cameras and all of this other stuff. So we can imagine how a similar approach could be used for a plethora of functions in the future. And obviously, as we start to move towards a lot different gaming, you know, engines like Unreal Engine 5 and all this other stuff, with crap tons of data being thrown around, you know, all of the different buses, you can start to imagine how a lot of this stuff could become even more important, like, you know, decompression blocks on the CPU and other things. I've been told that there are lots of improvements to the logical units as well as additional CPU instructions. Honestly, this just kind of makes sense. I did get a couple of specifics on that, but I'm going to hold off for now because quite frankly, I want to try and get a little more clarification as to what is being done. But basically, to my understanding anyway, both the floating point units, the integer units, basically pretty much everything has seen a major overhaul with Zen 5. And one thing that I learned quite early on is that a lot of folks at AMD basically were kind of looking at Zen 4 as like one person.
Неплохой день, господа.
And actually described it, quote, fat Zen 3. So pretty much you just take everything that's really good with Zen 3 and then you just like throw everything up, you know, turn all the dials up to 11, and that's kind of what AMD did with Zen 4, whereas Zen 5 is much more of like a ground up design. It's certainly not the first time AMD have done this, you know, where they basically, I wouldn't say go completely back to the drawing board, but they do a lot of like fundamental tweaks to the architecture itself. And I'm hearing that AMD are a lot more excited, honestly, about Zen 5 over Zen 4, although Zen 4 is still going to be pretty good. You know, IPC gains, clock frequency gains, I think we can all agree that it's going to be a pretty impressive architecture. I also want to mention that there will be a modest clock frequency gains. I've heard 200 to 300 megahertz, but these are really early targets, and we're not even talking about like engineering samples or early engineering samples. These apparently are just like early targets within AMD themselves. They may not hit those at all. It could be like, you know, clock speed regression. It's very unlikely, but I'm just saying. Or it could be that they clock like an extra 1 million megahertz. Again, not going to happen, but you get my point. When we're talking about clock frequencies and targets this early, reality may not actually hit the expectation of AMD. Now, another really big point of Zen 5 and the architecture is that it's also going to be really big change in that it also big or little or heterogeneous, however you want to say, philosophy that Intel, have been employing, as well as various other like cell phone manufacturers and so on for some time now. Basically, Zen 4 cores will be taking the place of the little cores, but with some changes. So I'm hearing that they're essentially a cut down, energy efficient design, again based on Zen 4. Allegedly, it will still handle SMT. A single source refutes this, but I don't know. It's not like SMT takes that much additional power, most likely, in Ryzen, and I think they'll probably want the additional thread count, but who knows, maybe that could be on a per SKU basis. L3 caches, according to Source 1, is significantly cut, and Source 2 told me it was, quote, halved. Due to multiple reasons, Zen 4C is not currently planned, that's a quote, to be present on, quote, high performance, end quote, CPUs, including EPYC or Ryzen flagships. So this would mean that the Ryzen 9 8950X, for example, or whatever the equivalent is for the 5950X, it will not feature this. However, APUs and very energy efficient CPUs, those will actually feature the Zen 4 cores. So basically AMD are going to be kind of bolting together processors and chiplets, if you will, pretty much based upon what the usage scenario is, and they will have a ton of flexibility, and this will also allow them to create very custom designs as well, pretty much dependent on what their customer would actually want. I think you can imagine that there's going to be a lot of flexibility here. I'm also hearing that AMD are going to be doubling down on ARM and, you know, its offerings in that arena, and possibly pairing that with Zen cores. Still getting some information on that, so I'm just going to kind of leave that there, and maybe you guys can kind of do a little bit of investigation yourselves on that. But yeah, I think that's just about it for this video. Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul, hope you're having an amazing day. I want to kick this video off discussing Zen 5/Strix Point. I stress this is going to be a real quick overview. I'm not going to be going into detail here. I will leave a link to my previous video in the description. Basically, to my understanding with Zen 5, there are some fundamental major architectural changes, but sticking to the cache structure as well as a little bit on the core configuration, the CCD, CCX, whatever you want to say, essentially doubles its core count. Great on me for hitting the microphone. So that basically means it goes from 8 cores to 16 cores. Now, of course, if the L3 cache remained on the CCD, that would basically just balloon up in space if we saw 16 cores, because clearly you would need a crap ton of additional L3 cache to be able to basically feed those cores. But to my understanding anyway, I mentioned this again in the previous video, the L3 cache is now stacked. So you can basically think of this as like the 5800X3D in, you know, basic principle anyway. It's connected via TSVs, and then L2 cache is essentially unified across the entire CCD, and then L1 is also seeing a bump. So basically multiple CCDs can access the L3 cache, and then again the L2 cache is private to that CCD. Just to reiterate, I've gone over this in much more detail in the previous video, but just wanted to give you a quick overview. Now, Grayman on Twitter is now stating that it's possible there will be some variants which actually use 4 levels of cache. Now, this is not something I've personally heard, but he also believes that it's very possible that we could see some type of 3D stacking here. And again, I just feel that this is most likely. I've had multiple sources now all tell me much the same thing. And Zen 5 will also see the introduction of the low power cores, or heterogeneous, or whatever you want to say. In Intel speak, it's going to be the big little design. The big cores, excuse me, will be the Zen 5 cores, and again, the small cores will be Zen 4. Just a small little bit of information, actually. I missed out on the previous video because I just forgot to add it into the slide. I don't know why. The L2 cache itself on the small cores, that actually will be seeing a bump, so that will be increased, but the L3 cache will be reduced. And basically AMD are making a lot of the Zen 5 changes, to my personal understanding, for a myriad of reasons, one of which is the data center. Now, what I'm about to say is speculation based upon what Grayman has mentioned, and also what I've personally been told previously by my sources. I'm going to reach out and try to find out a little bit more over the next couple of days. But it is quite possible that AMD will be offering different configurations of cache, essentially based upon usage scenario, because clearly data center and all of these other, you know, desktop, Threadripper, even APUs will all possibly want to maybe slightly configure their cores differently. And we've seen AMD just kind of build on this philosophy, you know, like if you just look at their history, look at their patterns, look at what the direction is that they're going in. Even, for example, with acquisitions like the Linux, you can say, well, gee whiz, it would make sense for them to more customize each design, each implementation of Zen based upon its market. Now, again, I am not saying this is the case, but to me, anyway, it does make logical sense. And also, while I'm on the subject of Zen 5, I wanted to quickly throw in a small little update. In my previous video, I mentioned it's possible that it could also be produced on the 4nm process, not the 3nm. I still have one source telling me that there could be some versions which could be using 4nm. So basically depending on the SKU, or maybe it's depending on the chiplet, I'm not sure. However, now I've had another source tell me that no, it's basically Zen 5 across the board is all going to be using TSMC's 3nm process. Personally, I'm not going to believe anything until I actually see that in writing, but
Вон он, сука!
Понял.
Лава! Сдохни, тварь! Щеми мертвов! Быстро! Вот петух! Вали хуесота! Прямо пизды! Вали кепку! Нет, три, сука!
Вот!
Вон он, сука! Ага. Это
very different design philosophy that AMD will be taking with its Zen 5 microprocessor architecture. As yep, it is a very different approach compared to what we saw with both Zen 3 as well as Zen 4. Zen 4 is going to be basically kind of a continuation with Zen 3. It's going to take the same design philosophies, but obviously crank things up to number 11. We're going to see in C, obviously the shift to a platform along with DDR5 memory. All of that is going to mean that Zen 4 is going to be considerably more performance, but you can almost think of Zen 5 as a kind of from the ground up design. While we're going to certainly see some of the inspiration from older Zen processors still be in play here, after all, it's not like, you know, these CPUs are going to run on turnip juice or something like that. Ultimately, AMD will be shaking things up considerably. Strix Point is an APU based on Zen 5, which is also, of course, going to be produced on TSMC's 3nm process. And according to what MoPC, which I'll link in the video description, are stating, Zen 5 is going to be utilizing a big little design, which is technically not the right verbiage. It should actually be heterogeneous for its architecture, but I think at this point, you know, big little are so prevalent in just, you know, people's understanding. A lot of people are calling it big little or, you know, big ground